our friend, Eric Wynalda, former U.S. men's national team player. Eric, pretty simple here. There's only one place to start. Jesse Marsch is out at Leeds. Seems like he was flirting with Southampton, or Southampton was flirting with him. In the background of all this, of course, is the vacancy with the U.S. men's national team. So you told us you got a little bit of an inside scoop on Marsch, Southampton, and where he's going to end up next, and how it all fell apart.
So it is a super long story. I'll try and give you the cliff notes of how we got to this point. But there's only been two American managers in the EPL, Bob Bradley and his son, Jesse Marsch. If you know a lot about these two, Jesse only really played for Bob Bradley his entire career. So they have the same agent. His name is Ron Waxman. Now this guy's kind of a kooky dude. If you've ever seen him, he always looks like he's boarding a plane on his way to the Bahamas. And it's amazed me that he has done the deals that he has done over the years. But he has a tendency to get really greedy. And he's not afraid to take risks when it comes to the negotiation process. So here's what happened. Once Leeds let him go, he was pursued to a certain extent by Southampton because of Ralph Hasenhüttl, who used to be their coach. It's the best name in soccer, right? Hasenhüttl. It sounds like something out of Harry Potter. But so Ralph is a part of that RB Leipzig methodology. So he's Ralph Rangnick, who we remember had his short stint with Manchester United, was a huge fan of Jesse Marsch and Ralph Hasenhüttl. So when it all went down with Hasenhüttl at Southampton, they actually feel that they made a mistake, that they pulled the trigger a little quickly and were actually in pursuit of getting him back. They felt that it might be a good fit to bring him back. The closest thing to that, guys, is Jesse Marsch. They do the same stuff. And the brass over there at Southampton felt that this was going to be the closest, and just implementing exactly what they used to do. So there would be no transition. It would just be just a different guy that was going to implement what they used to do. And there would be no, like we got to figure out a new system. We got to figure out a new way of playing. So they were really keen on starting the conversation with Jesse Marsch, but Ron Waxman, the agent, asked for like a 3 to 4 year deal. So you all know this because of your interest in Everton. When Sean Dyche was asked if he was interested in going to Everton, he basically said, "Okay, let's go, let's do it." Like I'm in. Who am I fighting today? We'll worry about next week, because that's what happens in a relegation fight. The fact that they asked for a multiple year contract is where this thing all broke down. I mean, they basically came in and said, "Can you do it? Can you enter into a contract that's gonna get us to the end of the year and then maybe re-up?" And Jesse Marsch, well, I don't want to say Jesse Marsch, his agent wasn't interested. So that's where everything broke down. On paper, it would have been a pretty good fit. Now, this, of course, has sparked all the speculation that Jesse Marsch is a shoo-in for the U.S. national team. Probably not the case, guys, not at all. One of the things that we've learned about the process is there's a new CEO at U.S. Soccer. His name's JT Batson, and he's working in tandem with Cindy Parlow, who is the president, but they've hired Sportsology, which essentially will be in charge of the search. Now, that alone would give you an indication that it's not always going to be about an American coach. It's going to be a very extensive search, and it's going to be a very foreign. Let's just put it this way. But the big problem here is they're not in a hurry at all. U.S. Soccer is in the midst of putting their plan together, because JT Batson is a big plan guy. He wants to basically run this organization the way it always should have been run, and it's to set expectations, to set benchmarks, and then try and go from there, but have it all understood by everybody within the organization. We're looking at June, guys, before they even think about making a decision. And I don't think that fits the timelines for Jesse Marsch. Jesse Marsch was very clean. He wanted to stay in Europe. I think his agent pushed it too far, so he'll probably be looking for something to do, or at least making his way back to Wisconsin when the leaves start to come back, so he can go fishing. But we'll see how that all plans out. But look, the U.S. Soccer Federation will not move on this until the Women's World Cup is over, and that's going to put us in a very precarious situation. But also, if you notice yesterday, FIFA made it official: Mexico, Canada, US, you're in. So if you really think about it, as much as we are getting anxious and maybe impatient with the process, I don't. I think we should just get used to disappointment. We're not going to hear any news about a U.S. national team coach and or a technical director, and they've currently started that process. They put their list together. They haven't talked to anybody, and there's a couple of names on that list that, from what I've been told, that are names you're going to know. So we'll see how that all pans out. But I'm as big of a story as it seems like right now, guys. Be patient. We'll talk about this for real in late May.
So now this also leaves a vacancy open at Leeds, and it also leaves a bunch of American players with their futures not necessarily uncertain, but with a new manager always comes new philosophy, and now not an American manager in charge who handpicked them. So what do you think this means for a guy like specifically Weston McKennie, who just got signed to Leeds because of, I assume, Jesse Marsch? Does he maybe find himself on the way out, or maybe Aronson or Tyler Adams were obviously very important to Leeds right now, but with maybe a new manager coming in, could we see some of these Americans potentially on the move in the next few transfer windows?
I hope not. I hope they stay in, but this is the best thing that could ever happen to these guys, that to have a new voice, and to the challenge is real now. I mean, one of the things that you fight against as an American player in Europe is that you're getting favoritism from your manager, and that if the coach is actually American, and all other circumstances, guys, it's an uphill battle. You are fighting against so many things just to get into the on the team sheet. So I think it makes things real for guys like Aronson who have had a drop in form. But I also think Tyler Adams and McKinney, they have a real opportunity to prove themselves. And it's not tainted anymore. And I'm not saying that it was before, but it's nice to have an American manager bring you in, and you're my guy. Now you got to prove it. And everybody knows that. Every single player in that locker room knows that both of these guys have to prove it. And I actually think, remember when the whole deal went down with Juventus, that the numbers, 2025 was what they were asking for. And then all of a sudden it went to a loan deal with an option to buy. That was probably the first indicator that it's not really solid ground you're moving to, that this is an iceberg that is slowly melting when it comes to Jesse Marsch. I think they were discontent with him before he got there, but they still valued McKinney as a player that understood how to play, the way that he was looking to play. So it's a wait and see. It's good. I think it's good for these guys to have to come to work every day, and get the attention on a whole new set of eyes and ears. But Chris Armas is still there, right? The logic of that was, we're playing against Manchester United twice. You might be able to help us, but and he just got his work permit, so his status is uncertain for sure. But this is going to be I think it's something. As a player, I went through a lot of coaching changes in Europe. I was a captain of my team, had to explain it to other players that didn't even speak German. It's always, when you make a managerial change like this, it makes you perk up a little bit. You got to get to work a little quicker. You got to be paying attention to everything, so all your senses are locked in. It'll be good for these guys. It seems like a bad thing, but we don't ever want these guys complacent. We always want them on edge, and that's where they're going to be for the next 3 months.
When you look at somebody like Balogun, we talked about him briefly. What are you impressed by with him? And what goes into the process of getting him to play for the United States and potentially filling that big hole we have at striker?
Man, we get him, we solve a lot of problems, don't we? I mean, it really is. What am I impressed with? Everything. I mean, he's the power that he has, the timing of his runs, the circumstances that he's in, for the team that he's playing for. It's kind of mid-table. They've gone on a very good run. They got a manager who's 30 years old that they have to pay a $25,000 fine because he doesn't even have a license to coach at this level. It's a pretty terrific story. But what do we have to go through? We have to appeal to his ego. That's the reality of this. And I don't know who his agent is, but I think we should find out and let him know that he will be a star. an absolute star in a World Cup in his own country. Born in New York, July 3rd, I believe, not July 4th, but July 3rd is his birthday. It really is one of those things where he needs to get locked in with a couple of sponsors that he would not get otherwise. He'll be a star with us. He will not necessarily be a star with England. There's a lot of guys to beat out, but it's going to really come down to where his loyalties lie and how important it is to be in the spotlight, because that's the only chance you got to get him. And that's the MasterCards, that's the Coca-Colas, that's the Budweisers, that's the big ones that are going to be sponsors of a World Cup. They got to figure out a way to work him into the budget. That's, honest to God, guys, that's how this thing needs to play out.
And then there's another guy that's really caught the eye recently at Rangers on loan from Bayern. What are your impressions of Malik Tillman? What do you see as his ceiling? And is he kind of in a crowded place? Because I feel like the United States' biggest strength is our attacking midfield with Pulisic, Reyna, and Aronson and whatnot. Do you think it's, where does he fit in the mix going forward?
We called it the Fab Four before Aronson. It was Pulisic, Reyna, Adams, and McKinney. That was the Fab Four. And that didn't necessarily, hold true because of Musa's inclusion of this. Musa's not having a good time right now, guys. He's not. What needs to happen when it comes to Tillman is he needs to keep doing what he's doing or make a move fairly soon to a club that he's going to get a little bit more attention. I think the same could be said about Daryl Dike, that he needs to find a club where it's a little bit higher of a level, that it impresses people more. But what is going to happen with the U.S. national team, which did not happen in this previous World Cup, is if you make the team, it's because you made it on form. There were players like Brandon Vasquez playing in Major League Soccer that were told, oh, you're too late for this cycle. I don't know what that is. That is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like you needed to be a part of this system for 6 months. This is the national team. We have massive egos. Tillman's cause, it's very similar to Chris Richards. Those two guys are playing great right now. And if they continue down this road, the Richards scenario, it's like, how long is Timmy Ream going to last? Probably not forever. He's not going to last to 26, but it's all about form. The one reality that he has is he has to continue to play extremely well and continue to keep himself on the radar. And then when he does get his chance to play with the national team, he needs to make the most of it. That's, and it's one of those things where, do we feel that, this is the biggest club in the, you don't say that, don't say that to the Scottish, they get a little upset. But the truth is that if he finds himself in another club and he continues to flourish, we'll see where that goes. I just don't, he's on loan, right? So it's one of those things where we're looking at another loan and it's another spot. Look at Timothy Weah right now. Timothy Weah is playing left back, and everybody say, well, he's playing out of position. And I'm sitting here thinking maybe he's finally in the right position for the first time. So that midfield shouldn't be as crowded as it used to be.